Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Architectural Board of Review, Tuesday, October 1st, 2019. Well, let's do the swearing in first.
Okay.
We have a new member replacing Carol, who moved out of town. And so I'm going to read you this. I think you have to just repeat after me. Is that
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so this is Cherie Detmer, which you have all just met. Cherie is an architect. Anyway, you have to repeat after me. I, Cherie Detmer,
I, Cherie Dittmer,
having been appointed to the Office of Architectural Board of Review
to the Office of the Board of Architectural Review
in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the county of Lake,
in the county of Lake,
aforesaid, do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United
Constitution of the
States,
State of Illinois,
Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Architectural Board of Review according
And-
to the best of my ability.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Board of Architectural Review to the best of my abilities.
Good, thank you. So,
Great, thanks.
you are now official.
Okay?
Welcome.
So, we don't have a whole lot on the agenda tonight, so we'll get going. Well, we'll get going now with the roll call.
Sure. Member Callahan.
Here.
Member Dahlman.
Here.
Member Kerouac.
Here.
Member Waymeyer.
Here.
And Member Dittmer.
Here.
And Chairman Hunter.
Here.
Okay. And Ed Deegan is absent.
It is absent. Okay, first item is the consideration of the September 3rd ABR meeting minutes. Any comments, corrections, discussion? Nobody? This goes fast when Carol's not here to check the punctuation.
Yeah, did anybody read them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's not any further, any discussion, then look for a motion to approve the minutes of September 3rd.
I move the minutes be approved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, done. Okay. Next on the agenda is any non-agenda items and visitors. And I don't see a host of visitors that are not on the agenda, so I'm going to pass on that. So consideration of signed permit application for the Sanctuary Homeowners Association on Atkinson Road. So that would be you.
Our electronics didn't work, so I'm going to ask that we go through this page by page together. My name is Lynn D'Angelo Costello, and my neighbor here is Sudha Mehta. We're both representing the Homeowners Association of the Sanctuary tonight. And we're here before you to present a proposal for new signage at our entryway. That entryway is located at Atkinson Road and Waukegan Road, Route 43. And it would be at the east sign. So if you would turn to the first page. Of course, we've all, and this is really just letting you know, we've combed through your identity system and your brand identity elements, and we have worked in earnest to be in allegiance and coherence with those. We have currently signage in the sanctuary that, not unlike all those signs up and down Waukegan Road, is sort of big and overstated and screaming, and happily is kind of decaying. So we need to replace it, and it was Sudha's idea that maybe we could, since we are actually Lake Bluff and we pay our property taxes to Lake Bluff, maybe we should put up a Lake Bluff sign that's in keeping with that. And everyone thought, well, most of us thought it was a great idea. And so we began that, and to just make it really in earnest, we started working with Melikar Architects, who have created your identity elements. So if you turn the page, you'll see their first rough sketch for the sanctuary. It is in accordance in terms of the typography, the color, the fabrication, and the style, working with both Mellicar and fabrication by Lynch, who I'm told have done all of yours. And if you turn the next page, you see that it is designed at this point to be the same size, dimensions, weight, and installation as your current village signing. We are looking at lighting to be installed at ground level with the light radiating up. But in talking to lighting engineers, they really want it to be installed before they propose that. We have the electric there, our current sign is illumined, but they don't want the height, the color, the width, all that affects it. So in speaking with a few different people, they've been reluctant to actually commit to a design until this is installed or they're more involved. So what we're looking for today is approval on this, so then we can move to the next level. We know that there are landscaping modifications that work in accordance with the signage proposals for Lake Bluff, and we are prepared to meet all of those. The specs, should anyone want those, we know you guys are architects, we're not, so we've glossed over this next page, which it says proposed signage with specs. It is verbatim what you currently have. And there we go. I promised you it would be 30 seconds, so there you go. Our request, of course, is for an approval from you. We know that to do subsequent to that and subsequent to installation would be lighting design. And then there are a few questions that our homeowners have had that I would love to bring to this board if and when you're ready as part of our discussion.
Okay. So, Tim, you have any comments?
Yeah, just from the drawing, it looks like it's white, but I'm sure it's probably going to be blue like the other signs.
It will be exactly like the sign that's on the first page. We didn't have a two-size color rendering, but it will be exactly this color. These are just sketches.
All right, looks great.
Thank you. Thank Diane Malakar, actually.
The existing sign that's out there, I believe, is two-sided.
Yes,
Will this one be two-sided?
yes, it will, to respond to both north and southbound traffic.
Okay. Other than that, I think it's very nice looking. I think it'll.
Yes, we do too.
I like that it takes off of the village sign
Yes.
and that it says the Village of Lake Bluff at the
Yes.
bottom.
And what we believed as we started this with Suda's proposals, that it serves both. It serves the village of Lake Bluff to lay claim to this whole subdivision which it owns, which is unlike anything else with all our open lands and preserved lands and wetlands. And it serves us to lay claim to the, the village that we are part of. So we think it works for all. Good.
Matthew?
Yeah, if I had any concern, and I don't think it would apply here, but just want to make sure that the installation isn't blocking any views, but it seemed like it's fine, just because it's a different, it's at a different
That's
height from
right.
what you have now.
Yes.
Like if you're in a truck or something, but I'm sure, hopefully that's all been studied or negated with some kind of review.
It'll be far enough back that someone parked at the stop line is in, the driver's in
Yes.
front of the sign,
Yeah.
so they can
Yes.
see
Yeah.
southbound.
Great.
with no
Yeah.
problem.
So that's, yeah. And everything else looks great. I still have a problem with the gazebo drawing, but that's my
Oh,
personal
good, because we have
issue.
a question about the gazebo,
Feels
but
wrong.
it's a subsequent question.
It's
But go-
it's wrong, but I'm not gonna
Okay.
do anything
Go
about
ahead.
it. But everything else looks great. You did a great job. Thank you for spearheading this effort.
Thank you.
That's, I
Thank
know
you.
it's a lot of effort, and not always rewarding, besides internal rewards.
Every
so-
time we drive in that entryway, we will be rewarded.
Yeah, there you go, yeah. So that's great. Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to verify, when it comes to, it says it's going to be the same as the Village of Lake Bluff signs, and it says it a couple different times, and then these specs are shown as is. Do we know that this is what it is? I mean, if it says it's gonna be what it's supposed to be, then if it goes in and it's not what it's supposed to be, then,
The specs were designed by the very architect who designed yours.
so they should be the current ones and everything?
We asked her to replicate everything to the letter, the type, the color, the font, the leading, the kerning, everything, the aspect ratio, everything is exactly mirroring what is in place.
Okay, well, as long as it's absolutely the same thing, then
Well, I would trust Diana Mellicar and her loyal assistant Gavin.
great. I don't have any other comments, thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry?
It looks great to me.
Okay.
Okay.
Looks good to me. My only question is, you mentioned lighting,
Yes,
and it would be from the ground.
Yes. In early conversations with the village, their suggestion to us was that a lot of the lighting, which is in this format, which is hung, I don't know what you'd call, what is that called when it's from a post, a T-shaped post? Is lit from above. It's illumined from below,
Right,
Lake
there's-
Forest Academy. And so they wanted it lit from below, which actually made sense to us because we think the content here really is important because it differentiates it from all other signage in the village. So we didn't want to really interfere with any of the typography above the top or any of the letter forms. So we actually decided we were in complete agreement that it should be installed from the bottom. We tried to find, and maybe you guys have a local lighting engineer, and everyone locally kept recommending, is it Lumineers? And they were the ones who said we would have to it'd have to be installed. The electric's already there. It's no big deal. It's just deciding what size and intensity of fixture gets installed there. So,
Okay.
okay.
But we'll have to review that, correct?
Yes,
before
we'll
it goes
come to
in?
you for a subsequent review, but this would need to be approved and,
Because it is a different lighting scenario, because you're lighting at, say, 4 feet now, and now you're lighting at 10 feet.
exactly.
So
It's a different placement as well.
Make sure that
There- there's-
you're not
there's
eyeballs.
two things that we'd be concerned about. One of them is that when you're lighting up to the sign, it's not gonna be a ground sign buried. It's gonna have to
Right.
be something else, which
Yes.
means that somebody coming and going on Waukegan Road is gonna have
Right.
it in their eyes. And the other thing is, we're trying to eliminate uplights in Lake Bluff called night sky, so that things are down instead of up.
Yes,
So there's probably a compromise to that.
I wonder, there are streetlights right behind it, and I wonder how much light they put out, is
Not-
additional
Moved
lighting.
out farther.
it would not be
It's
sufficient to
out
read a
Towards
sign.
the end of the island now, so it's farther out. No, I
It
don't
is.
have
It's
any
on the
problem with
perimeter of
lighting.
the island. And I just, as someone who's lived there now for 3 years, I wish they were, but the streetlights are not sufficient to read it. Our intention, and we're open to input, is that the placement of the lighting would not be within, 20, 30 degrees of the signage, which wouldn't then create it, but at least 45. So it's, the angle of the luminosity is actually directed, so it comes from sort of a side light, and it will generally be up, but it's not really pointing directly up at all. It's really going to be refracted by the sign.
It's again, the what's in the driver's eye,
Yes,
which is the good part about the goosenecks, or however you would arrange it
yes.
from the top.
Well, we are open to reviewing that, but we think we should do it in collaboration with a lighting designer. If not, what we find is a lot of very well-intentioned neighbors who have a point of view. So we think that the installation should be to your satisfaction and to ours, and then come back to you with that in place.
I would suggest that the lighting designer gives you a profile of what he wants to do before you get it all done, and then he
We'll
comes
be
in
here.
here. Because I can't tell you how many times I've had, I'm sure we all have, you have a lighting designer, and all of a sudden they come at you with a box that's like this big, and it's, 4,000 watts of
Yes,
EJ.
yes,
And, that'll light it fine.
yes. Are there lighting engineers you all have worked with and trust? Or lighting designers?
How about you guys? You're working. I'm not.
Yeah, there is. I don't know if it's our place to, I don't know if
Okay,
it's good or
perhaps
bad.
after this, because I know it's like free advertising on Channel 19, but if there are some people who already know the parameters of the village,
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful.
Would be, maybe you can help out with that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
we can think about that, yeah.
Thank you.
we can get back
We
to
would
you.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it looks good. I like the idea of,
Yeah.
just keep going with the village.
Yes, we do too.
That's great.
We do
I
too.
was around when they did the first sanctuary sign.
Yes, a lot of
My
our
God,
neighbors.
that thing is big.
Oh, it's so big.
It's
You know,
not as
and-
big as what we've done lately, but.
Harriet Schellist, one of our early neighbors, had children who were artists, and it was so well-intentioned.
Yeah.
But, and there was really nothing to adhere to, but now that the village is so coherent in its signing messaging, it made sense. Thank you, Suda, to move in that direction.
Okay, well, that's great. Thank you both.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions. May I ask?
Okay, yeah, that's
Okay, so what we've done is create this in keeping with the identity, and that's out of respect for the hard work that goes into creating one coherent brand identity. But we have 2 questions, and one question is, are you open to any alterations to the illustration? Not to the signage overall, not to the type, the color, the kerning, but the gazebo feels very out of place for a landscape which is essentially open lands with, I think we've got 5 ponds and I don't know how many acres, 120 acres of undeveloped land. And, it seems that that would be better served for both parties, for the village and for the sanctuary, if in place. And again, an illustration is not a logo, it's simply an illustration. In lieu of the gazebo, perhaps it would just be a suggestion of a pond and a couple of cattails or something. And that is truly who we are at the sanctuary. And at the same time, we know there's a deep desire to keep not just coherence, but total exactitude, and we would respect that if that was the case. Our best instincts go against it, but we will accept it.
Well, my own opinion is, yes, I would welcome that. Something that's more indicative of what's out there.
Yes.
It still is a separate association.
Yes, it
It's
is.
in the village, you've captured most of it, but,
Yes.
you know,
And we are very much kids running and trails and open. If you've been
Right.
through the sanctuary, there are all kinds of walking trails, running trails. It's a dog place, it's a kid place, but it's not a gazebo place. So if you were open to it,
that's me, I don't know, what about the rest of you?
Yeah, I have no problem with, I guess I don't know, like, how official that image is, is
But
that?
this is not a village sign.
That's what I'm
Right,
saying.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
I mean,
you're
if
trying to
it was a
work with-
variation of what they have, we would
Yeah,
talk
I'm all
about
for
it and it would go.
Yeah, I would approve.
and
Or-
again, everything would be
Welcome.
exact, except we'd be removing the gazebo, a suggestion of a lake, and maybe if a bird or a reed or a willow, something.
Maybe not a coyote chasing a boy.
That's right, we left that one out.
We can get rid of this.
Yeah, we just send out alerts, text alerts for the coyotes.
I guess I just wanted to say that even though I personally I don't, it doesn't have to be a gazebo and it doesn't have to be a little boy being, running through with the dog. If we start changing that illustration,
Yes,
it's changing, well, why not change the shape and why not change the other things? And so
Yes.
if you change the illustration, now you have a different version of the same thing.
I
And so are
understand.
we keeping the same thing, or are we trying to do the same thing or not trying to do the same thing? So my opinion would be, keep the gazebo and keep it straight up, and if you're gonna change it Sanctuary Village Lake Bluff, that's a great way to keep it the same but different. That's all. I
Okay.
understand what you're saying, and I understand your
Yes.
point, and I'm not set on, I didn't
Yes.
sign up I'm not the guy who said, I want that gazebo little boy thing, but
Yeah. Well, and we are very much in kinship with the boy, the running, the dogs, the trees, the path. But we're pretty far from that gazebo. Many people who move to the sanctuary come here because they don't want to be in town center. So that's a question, and and again, it felt like it would be arrogant for us to have made that assumption. So we're here to ask your point of view, and knowing that if you say yes, of course, we have another round of, we'll be back again with a revised. And I just need to say, I've spent my life developing brand identities for global clients, some of the biggest clients in the world. And a logo is not an illustration. Your identity mark is much, much deeper and wider and broader. It's who you are and how you act in typography and kerning and lettering and color form and how we handle it. So that minor suggestion, yes, and really we respect that probably everyone who comes here has an idea. So we're not pushing it, but we're simply asking and would welcome the chance to customize it just so slightly.
Sherry, what do you think?
I agree with her point that they're not near the gazebo, and I would not be opposed to deleting the gazebo and doing something more in character with the sanctuary.
Thank you. We believe that brings a lot to Lake Bluff as well.
Neil?
I'd be hesitant to change it, mainly because the village's intent was to create a branding program, and as soon as you start
Yes.
varying it, you lose all the efforts, you potentially lose all the efforts that they've been going for. So I think I would stick with it the way it is.
Oh, boy. Tim?
I think it's okay to change it and just put a little different touch on it.
I go back to if they came in here We don't have village signs in the L1, L2 districts, 176, anyplace,
That's right.
that are trying to emulate the village identity.
Yes,
They're emulating their own identity,
yes.
and that's where I see what you're saying is important.
I think it's important for both the village and for the
But
sanctuary.
there's enough of it there,
Mhm.
of the
Yes.
village identity in the shape, in the color, in
Yes.
whatever else you
Yes.
come up with, including Village of Lake Bluff, that to me, it works, might even work better. So we don't all agree.
Okay. So when the board doesn't agree, what,
You want to take a vote on it? We don't need to take an official vote.
Well, we do, actually, need to take an official vote eventually.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we do eventually, yeah.
Yeah, right.
But if, yeah, I think, though, we may not be approving anything tonight if they're gonna come back, right?
if we change the illustration? But what we would be very much opposed to is that there is an agreement, yes, and we pay to have the illustration revised, which for our little homeowners is a lot. And then there's a change of heart. So we would have to commit to one path or the other. And we've operated in the best faith by executing what has gone before with exactitude. So, you know, we will accept any answer. We would prefer, obviously, and we think it's in the best interest of all, to move in a direction that permits, again, I totally respect, not diverging from what is really finally bringing the village together, but allowing, at least in the illustration, which is the most human part, some minor adjustment. Very, maybe to the human eye, you might not even notice, but it would feel different.
So. Well, we can just do this with a motion, adjusting it or not. Again, I think that it's the ability of the sanctuary to put any kind of sign up there that they want that we approve. This could be a round circle with arrows sticking out of it, and that probably wouldn't go. Anyway, so who wants to make a motion that describes what we're doing here, or what we're thinking about?
The motion to move forward with the signage and permitting some mild modifications to the illustration? Specifically replacing the
You're the
gazebo.
motion man.
Well, I guess I'm struggling with, if we make a motion, are they gonna have to come back? Or, so does that even necessitate a motion? Or should we just, are we approving and that we trust that what they do is gonna be tasteful and reflective of the sanctuary and they don't need to come back? Because it seems like we either make a motion and it's approved. We don't make a motion for them to come back with a new design, right?
No.
That's right, typically we don't.
So
They
then
have to
we
come-
wouldn't do anything.
They have
Then
to
we'll
come
make-
back for the lighting anyway, don't they?
But after the installation, we would
Yeah,
come
but
back
after
for
the
lighting.
installation.
Yeah.
We'd be by then the sign is fabricated and installed.
Yeah, so I think the real motion is, do we trust them to make a new logo that we will
An
approve?
illustration.
An illustration, sorry.
Yes,
That's the right word.
thank you.
I do.
Yeah,
I do too.
anything's better than this gazebo.
We love the gazebo when we're sitting in Ovasi.
Wrong is the problem.
I can't unsee the Ghost Walk edition of the sign where the gazebo becomes a flying saucer.
Yeah, it's.
I haven't seen that.
The arches are wrong.
Clearly, I missed a meeting.
I can't be the only one where
It's
they
pretty
see
much
that the arches
same.
are wrong.
That's the thing.
I think it should be resubmitted, but not necessarily here. I don't see why it couldn't go to staff for administrative review. Just, and I'm uncomfortable just saying, whatever you come up with, as long as it's tasteful.
Mhm.
We'd be working with the same architect again and the people who did this original rendering. So, you know, it's not like we have someone's nephew who's an artist who's going to render it, you know, because all those offers have been made and we have so politely declined.
Would that be okay, administrative
Yeah,
review?
that's fine with me, if that's what the board wants.
You can
Thank you.
send it out to us and we could respond to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do that.
Okay, so, I move to approve the sign as submitted with the following exception, that the image on the sign showing the boy, the dog, and the gazebo will be edited in such a way to reflect the spirit of the sanctuary, and that image will be submitted to administration for its review and dissemination to the rest of the board
Prior to execution.
prior to execution, with the understanding that lighting will be submitted separately before installation,
A subsequent installation.
subsequent to installation.
Okay. A second on that?
I second.
I thank you all.
Roll call. We're not done yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Member Callahan,
Aye.
Member Dahlman,
Aye.
Member Caraway.
Aye.
Member Waymire,
Nay.
Member Dittmer,
Aye.
and Chair Hunter.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one second question, and it is only just a question. Along Waukegan Road, for those of you who've gone north on 43, north of Atkinson and south, it's an area where the signage is all screaming. It's oversized, it's typographically the Wild West. And so our question is, are you open to, at all, any minor increase in the size of the signage? And we would respect if you weren't. But it seems that to hold its own in that environment might require like a 5% increase or an 8% increase. Not huge, but this is half the size of the existing signage. And we think that's fine. We think it's more impactful and less can be more. But that's a question, because you guys, have spent your lives doing buildings and reading from a distance and operating in very, loud environments. This is typographically a very loud environment.
What do you think?
I think it should stay the same size as the ones in the rest of Village. I understand what you're saying, but I think
Yeah.
it should stay the same size so
Okay.
that it doesn't appear to be bigger than the ones in the rest of Village.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, like street signs for, names of streets, they work. I think it's for a business, it's a totally different world
Yes.
than for a neighborhood and for directional, and I would have a hard time setting precedents that, because then
Understood.
West Terrace is just gonna go all out with our sign.
Yes.
Just wait.
Got it. Next time we'll be lighting it from within.
Yeah, it's a,
Yeah.
When the existing village signs were done, we looked at that, I looked at that a number of times, because they kept building them and sticking them in the ground out at Public Works, and we had cardboard models of it here, different colors. You were here then, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't
Weren't
think I
you?
was, no,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
remember the
So
cardboard
this
models,
is what was settled on, is,
We guessed that.
yeah.
Okay. We felt compelled to ask, and I'm sure you understand why, and we thank you, but we don't need to take it to a motion. It was just a question.
Okay.
All right, thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
And ladies. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so the last item on here is just a discussion item for the garbage and generator enclosure behind the public safety building. I'll have to, bring it in for formal site plan review when I actually have a proposal from a contractor, and we'll notify the neighbors and all that. But I just wanted to get some feedback at this point from the board that we're going down the right path. Our plan this year was to just paint the existing enclosure, but then we realized on a generator test that it wasn't really getting enough airflow with the solid door on the north end, so we want to change that
We've also got that on the other side.
to a wood door with gaps in it to allow more airflow through it. And that north end just faces the building, so it's not really visible. And then the gate on the west is also, it's a big, heavy gate that has to have a
Horseshoes?
wheel to hold it up, and then the wheel has to
You
roll
can see
up
the
the
horseshoes there, and
driveway,
you can see what happens when
making
they
it
miss.
hard to open and close. And so we're thinking of replacing that west gate also. So we're looking at just doing a relatively plain wood rectangle and just stained white to match the existing building, or the existing enclosure, which also matches the building.
So you
So we're-
take the whole enclosure down or just change the doors?
Just change the doors.
Question, is that the actual panel?
No.
I'm waiting for quotes from contractors, so I'll confirm whether that's the actual panel when we come in for formal approval. I don't know for sure yet.
Because I would think you'd
That's-
need larger spaces to get enough ventilation.
Yeah, this is definitely not the one.
Okay.
For ventilation, we will move the boards farther apart. So we have a choice of 4-inch wide boards or 6-inch wide boards. And I would tentatively thinking of doing the 4-inch boards with a 2-inch gap between them.
Is this a stained wood or paint? I mean, I'm not quite sure what we're looking at.
Yeah, so it comes unstained, but we'll have our painting contractor stain it white, so it'll be the same white as the rest of the enclosure, would be the plan.
Or it could be the gray. Because the gray on that building is pretty much gone now. You
It's-
know, all the
yeah, it's-
grid work and everything is, because it's never been done since 1984.
It never been repainted?
No.
Yeah,
I-
well,
no.
we'll probably repaint it next year, actually.
And you know how to do
We'll-
it? You can lift it off the wall.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, look at the drawings
Detaches
before you
easily?
do it. Yep.
Yeah, okay, good,
I found
good.
something
And you can paint
interesting
behind it without, huh?
when I went out there this afternoon to look at
Yeah,
it.
it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
They have a
Horseshoe.
horseshoe area right here, and you can see the horseshoe sitting there. You can also see the holes in the wall from when the horseshoes hit it.
Right.
I got a kick out of that.
Yeah.
That's pretty wacky.
What is it made of?
So I'm not, and then on the other side of the building, let's see, where the,
It's like a chipboard that's made to look like stucco. It's like
Yeah.
an imitation stucco board.
and then on the other side of the building, there's just an exposed dumpster that has no enclosure around it.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
So,
firemen have gotten a little messy, police department a little messy.
yeah,
No
I don't
matter
know,
what you do.
my thought was I wondered about, since there's so many holes all around the thing, I wondered about the thought of just replacing the whole thing and doing it in the wood panels, but just don't paint it white or anything. It doesn't,
You
it
know,
doesn't,
The idea when we did that, I mean,
Match
I
the
did
squares
that
up
on,
here?
you know, a couple of years ago. Somebody called me and said, come up here and tell me what we should do. And I can't remember his name now. Somebody that the village used to use a lot, like one or two guys, Tony or
yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
So what do you wanna
Yeah, I
do?
don't know.
It's
Yeah.
just, what do you mean, what do you want? Because we didn't have a generator then.
Right, yeah.
And, so anyway, I said, well, why don't we just build something like that, make it lightweight and put this grid on it?
Right, yeah,
And that's probably 10 years ago anyway. But,
yeah,
didn't plan on a pit, and nothing lasts forever.
right.
I'm not sure that just a wooden fence around there is not gonna look like a wooden fence around anything that's foreign.
that's what I thought, just a wood fence like this and let it turn gray like they naturally do.
But again, it's like,
It's not a highlight of the building.
no, it's not.
You only see it if you're driving in the west parking lot.
Coming in the west
Right.
lot, you're right, it's way
Right.
back there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't wanna beat a dead horse.
yeah.
Do you think when you do the more formal, when we do have it in front of the board, you can have some additional photographs and that kind of thing? I mean, I guess I can walk by there too, but
Yeah, I can bring more photographs for that, sure.
I'll try to walk by
It's
sometime.
it's a white
Okay,
box
okay,
with the
sure.
same grid on it that's, you know, the gray grid on it that's on the building.
Have you thought of any, like a LP Smart Site or something that has like a 20-year warranty and there's no maintenance? Or is that a budget issue?
Well, I was actually not thinking of rebuilding the whole enclosure, just thinking of doing the gates, because
Okay.
actually, our painter, gave us a pretty good price to
Okay.
repair the holes and
Yeah.
paint the whole thing, so,
Okay.
it seemed very economical to
Yeah.
just do the gates.
course,
Yeah,
Okay.
the holes may come back when they play horseshoes.
You may wanna put
Right.
something up there against them.
yeah, right,
That's a
Right.
bad
Extra
throw.
gate
It's
panel
a-
maybe?
yeah, right, yeah, it's gotta take a pretty wild throw to get that, but
Yeah,
someone did,
someone did.
yeah.
But you got
All
any
right.
other ideas about that? What about just a metal slatted aluminum gate? I think you're gonna need a wheel on it, on the end of it anyway. Because either that or some hefty tie rods and something really strong back here.
Yeah, the fence contractors are not saying you need a wheel for the, for most types of gates.
Because they leave. How big is,
Yeah,
how
right,
big is
right.
the gate? Yeah.
You know what, I have the dimensions, but I didn't bring them here, I forgot.
I don't remember how big it is, but you can
Yeah.
get a dumpster in and out of it, so.
Right, it's a double
It's a
gate,
double
so
gate.
it swings from both sides, so it's
Yeah.
only half the opening. I wanna say it's a 9-foot opening, so 4.5 each side, half,
Yeah.
I think,
Probably don't
something
need
like
a wheel
that.
for that.
Yeah, right.
That's about right.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at a louvered aluminum, but one
big
concern
opening.
with that is that it can be dented relatively easily, and then you never get it straight
That's
again.
true, yeah.
That was one of our concerns. Besides that, it's expensive. The chain link with slats was another material we
That's
looked
really
at.
bad.
Yeah, right, it doesn't look good. That's the downside, right.
Yeah.
The advantage of that is there's not much risk of denting it or anything like that. It'll always look the same. It'll look equally bad for all the years.
Yeah, it looks bad from the beginning to the
Yeah.
end.
Right,
It
yeah,
stays consistent.
right.
There are
Yeah.
other mesh materials though that are cool, but
Yeah.
you're paying
Yeah,
money.
they're
for that.
pretty
Yeah.
expensive, and then you
Yeah.
have a metal frame behind it. and-
Yeah, then it
Mhm.
becomes the whole thing.
Yeah,
I'm with you, I think simpler is the better. You're never gonna notice it after you paint it white,
yeah.
hopefully, or whatever color.
But somebody should tell you what kind of air you need back there.
Right,
It's- I
right,
mean, it sounds like, 50%, 60%, 70%, 20%.
right. Yeah, we do have specs from the generator
Okay.
manufacturer. Yep. Right. Okay, so,
Then it's mathematical.
yeah, right, right, yep.
Or just drill random holes in it.
Hmm,
Throw some horseshoes at it.
Just
Yeah.
get that horseshoe guy.
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, it's got a pretty big louver there for air,
It does, yeah, it does have a louver on the side.
on one side.
Well, that's the exhaust air blowing out away from the radiator.
Uh-huh.
Not the motor exhaust, but there's an intake on the front.
The
that's-
hole down here, what are these guys doing back
I
there?
don't know, yeah.
Yeah, that's craziness.
Yeah.
Like a big ice cube, sort of like a square igloo.
Okay, well, it sounds like if we came back with the fence gate, the wood,
Yeah.
that people would be okay with that. Okay. Well, that's all I have.
Okay, anybody have anything else?
Thanks for the
Nope.
pictures, Neil.
Yeah.
All right, then, anybody want to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Look at that, we're done at, wow,
Pretty good.
is it 7:40?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.